Hello, welcome to Birds Explored. This is the episode 4, and today we are talking about bald eagle. So, I have a short introduction, the short story about bald eagle. It is interesting. And after that, I'm gonna take the Peter into the studio. So, we will start talking about bald eagle. Um, there's a story, the comeback of the bald eagle. It's an interesting story. During the mid 20th century, the bald eagle population in the United States faced a drastic decline. I mean, primarily due to widespread use of the pesticide. I think everybody knows DDT. So DDT caused the eagle's eggshells significantly thin and fragile. So it affects I think, the breeding um, eh, well, not breeding. I mean, it affects, of course, the breeding, but also the affects the quality of the nest and the young, and then they die. I mean, the breeding success really declined. So by the 1960s, the bald eagles were on the brink of the extinction, based on the literature in the complete United States. So the turning point came with the banning of DDT in 1972, following growing environmental awareness and scientific evidence of harmful effects on wildlife and humans. Additionally, the bald eagle was declared as an endangered species, which provided legal protection and support to conservation efforts. So these efforts included habitat protection, rehabilitation of injured birds, and even breeding programs in some areas. Over the decades, so nowadays, I mean, the concerted efforts led to a remarkable recovery. The bald eagle population rebounded, and in 2007 the species was officially removed from the endangered species list in the United States. So nowadays they are in safe. So it's an interesting story, the pesticide use and the birds and effects effect of the pesticide on the birds. So it's an interesting story, and bald eagle is a really handsome, I mean, gorgeous bird. So, as I said, that today the bald eagle just removed from the endangered bird list and is a powerful symbol not only for the United States but also the wildlife conservation and successful impact on the environmental protection measures. So this story is interesting. When I read, I just want to share for this episode. So I'm gonna take Peter in right now. So we have questions, and Peter probably will tell something more about bald eagle. Hello,
Hello, Utku.
welcome, Peter. So we are here after a week. So today we plan to talk about bald eagle and golden eagle, but we are gonna talk only bald eagle today. And next week, I think maybe more interesting, we are gonna talk about golden eagle.
Well, that's going to be easy because I am a bald eagle.
No, that's good. Okay, so I made a short introduction about bald eagle story. So what do you think about this story? I mean, pesticide use and the birds. Not only, I think the bald eagle is a one of the example, but probably other birds also
Oh
affected
yeah,
by
yeah,
pesticide.
yeah, yeah. Well, DDT was a kind of pesticide that worked very well for killing insects, and so it was used a lot in agriculture, and people used it in their rose gardens, their lawns. It was pretty much unregulated, and it wouldn't break down very easily, and the rainwater would carry it into streams and rivers, things like that, get into the fish. And
Right.
so birds that feed on fish, like the bald eagle, which is one of the what we call the fish eagles,
Mm,
um, is was particularly vulnerable to that because by the time the birds were eating fish, DDT was highly concentrated in the system. But other raptorial birds, peregrine falcons, ospreys, some of the accipiters also were affected in the same way in that their eggshells got very thin, as you say, and when the parent birds tried to incubate the eggs would just break under the weight of the parents. And so year after year, if that kept occurring, you can imagine there's no young birds to replace the older ones. The older ones start to get older and die off. So over time, you don't have any replacement individuals for the parent birds. Um, and Not only was it thinning of eggshells, but DDT had some weird effects on the behavior of the birds. Sometimes they wouldn't incubate. Sometimes they would eat the young, or they would eat the eggs. This pesticide is fat soluble, so it got into the, uh, the fat of the birds, and fatty substances are a large part of the reproductive um, physiology of these birds. So it damaged them in various ways. And like you said, at some point, the bald eagle, along with other raptor species, was declared endangered. And it took a while for things to get better once DDT was finally banned. As you say, there was big efforts to conserve some habitat where there were still bald eagles nesting successfully. Um, there were captive birds that were uh, treated if they had been injured, hit by cars. There was a big effort to rehabilitate as many as they could. Um, and so over the past, certainly over the past 20, 30 years, the population has increased, and bald eagle seems to be out of danger. As you said, it was taken off the endangered species list. It is still protected by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act and an extra layer of protection called the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act. So still,
Okay.
yeah, it still has some additional protections besides the regular Migratory Bird Treaty Act.
Right. It is interesting. So I want to ask you another question before we move to the bald eagle questions for this episode.
Yeah, sure.
So I remember you gave me probably for my radio show, you gave me the example. So the somebody worked for the um, bird egg in a
Mm,
museum collections,
mm,
and I get some really significant results about their eggshell um, thickness,
right.
then made some, I mean, correlation between pesticide use and then eggshell thickness, something like that. Well, I couldn't remember the exactly, but you probably remember.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly the bald eagle example, but I think it's a good example for the human-induced birth decline
Mhm.
because of the breeding success.
But it's also a good thing that various museums still have good bird egg collections that are from the last 150 years or so.
Right.
Prior to DDT use, during the time DDT was being used, and then afterwards. So you can make these sort of comparisons of eggshell thickness with good egg collections. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay. So the bald eagle is a charismatic bird. So I have a couple of different questions, but we have also here the PowerPoint presentation. So I'm gonna take this on stage. Okay, here is the bald eagle.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very nice, charismatic bird species,
Yeah.
raptor bird. So, I mean, how can we distinguish a male bald eagle from a female bald eagle in the wild? So, is there any
Well, not just in the wild, but
sexual dimorphism, not
there
only
is
the sign but also the other characters?
yeah there is a reverse sexual dimorphism in that the females are larger than the males, which is something we've talked about already in raptors. Many raptor species, that's the case, where the female is larger than the male. There's no real difference in plumage at all in the bald eagles. Males and females, when they're adults, full adults, they both sexes have a white head and a white tail and a brown body. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
okay. So, well, the some birds, I mean, like bald eagle, So if we, ignore the size, so there is no difference about the plumage coloration,
No.
the other things. But the most of the birds have significant plumage coloration between male and females.
Yeah.
So I always thinking why some birds not showing any sexual dimorphism based on the plumage coloration. So it's about territorial defense or mating system. So what do you think? It's same for the, well, probably there are a couple of different answers,
Right.
but I think it is also for the same for the bald eagle. What do you think about this question?
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I think it's a complex kind of question, and has a lot to do with mating systems. You're familiar with sexual selection, where you get brightly colored males of some species,
Right.
and the female is sort of dull colored or subsimilar. And the colors of the males really drive the choice of the females, right? And often
Yes.
that's associated with an elaborate song, like in some of these songbirds we have warblers and the finches and these sorts of things. But those birds reproduce very quickly, um, and can be double brooded at times. Can have two sets of young every breeding season. These large raptors uh, have a very slow reproductive biology. Bald eagles, lay typically two eggs, sometimes three, and one of the young may not survive if it's two in the nest. So they might wind up with just one young one to raise, and then it takes several years for them to mature. Um, and as we'll see in a moment, bald eagles go through many plumage changes over the years, from the time they're fledglings all the way up till the time that they're able to reproduce. So these kinds of questions are difficult to answer. There, as you said, probably many answers depending on which species you're looking at. Um, some raptor species, the female is larger than the male, as we said, but sometimes the males are more brightly colored. I mean, I can think one is the merlin. It's a little falcon where the male is very brightly colored, almost blue, and the female's kind of brown. And the
Right.
American kestrel as well, kestrels as well, these kinds of things. Yeah.
Right. We will
But
we will
in
talk about this species next episodes. Yeah.
yeah, but in
So
bald eagles, the sexes are the same color.
okay. I'm always, asking these questions to myself, and I have maybe one explanation based on competition.
Yeah.
So sometimes, for example, the male bald eagles not get really good competition. So there is, of course, there are some competition between different males,
Hmm.
but it's not that kind of brutal, probably. So, and then that probably makes this species male and female. There's no sexual dimorphism. That makes this pattern. Sometimes I'm thinking, but I have no correct answer. Exactly one answer, because I believe a couple of different situations affect this pattern.
Yeah, and in some of the other raptors, like the peregrine we talked about in the first episode, the male is much smaller than the female, and the idea is that maybe he can capture more sort of energy-rich prey, like robins and blue jays, things that have really sort of red meat, and the females are more capable at taking birds like pheasants and grouse, which are maybe a little less nutritionally dense. And during the breeding season, then the male can provide more of that energy-rich food. But that's just one idea. As you said, the literature is probably filled with hypotheses and experiments and a whole bunch of different conclusions.
Okay. So, well, in this slide, based on the literature that I took this information, so based on the literature, different literature,
Yeah,
well, female is typically larger with a wingspan that can be up to at least 20% greater
yeah,
than the of the male.
it's quite a bit.
It's a lot. Yeah. So, well, as you said, this size difference is common trait among birds of prey and is known as sexual dimorphism, sexual size dimorphism. Dimorphism. Okay. So the well, this is the distribution.
Yep.
So and then in this distribution, Peter, I don't know much about the North American birds, but how many subspecies of bald eagle are recognized, and what are their distinguishing features?
Yeah, well, first of all, the bald eagle is found only in North America, essentially. Um, and as I said, it belongs to a group of eagles known as fish eagles, and we'll probably talk about other fish eagle species. But
Yes.
the fish eagles, or the genus Haliaeetus, does occur in other parts of the world, but this species, the bald eagle, is essentially only found in North America. And traditionally, there are two subspecies. Sort of the northern bald eagle and the southern bald eagle, which differ in size. The plumage is the same, but the southern subspecies is on average smaller in mensural characters, length of the wings, the tarsus, the bill, all of that, than the northern subspecies. So it's a size difference. I think I'd have to check, but I think that the the taxonomy hasn't changed. I think they're still considered two subspecies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Leucocephalus, the nominate one.
Yeah.
And the other one is Alaskanus.
Right.
So the northern one.
Yeah, and as you can see, that map kind of shows you the distribution between the two subspecies.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So the resident place and the summer visitors. So
Yeah.
almost definitely.
Right.
And in the interesting information. Northern subspecies found in Alaska and Canada is generally larger with a bigger body and larger beak compared to the southern subspecies based on the measurements.
And the mass is probably
Right.
heavier too. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I mean, so this is the variations based on the age.
Right.
I mean, this is temporary variation. They are changing, but
Yep.
well, I think the old raptors have got these kind of interesting variation between different ages.
Yeah.
So is there any specific for bald eagle? So because I saw lots of different head pattern. I mean, not only the head color, but the head pattern.
The head color and
different.
pattern is different as they get older. They tend towards that definitive plumage, which has the white head and tail. But the rest of the body is a little different too. The young birds also don't have a white tail, all brown body. You'll notice there that there's even the bill color that changes over time. So a young bird that fledges, let's say it leaves the nest for the first time, is going to look like that bird on the upper left there, all kind of brown with a dark beak and dark eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And going forward over the years, you can see how it changes until it reaches this full adult or definitive plumage pattern and color. And we talked about the harpy last time, the harpy eagle, which also has a sequence of color and pattern changes over time from the immature birds to the adults. A lot of these very large raptors, a lot of these large eagles, we see this similar phenomenon.
Okay. So my next question, I'm really curious about this question, but I think that all the birds of prey has very nice eyesight. But how does the bald eagle's eyesight compare to that of humans? So maybe it's an interesting question.
Yeah, well, like all raptors, their eyesight's a lot better than ours. And, these birds probably see 8 to 10 times better than we can. Bald eagles, of course, they feed on fish a lot, not just fish, but they're able to see fish just below the surface of the water in a lake or in marine environments, and they're able to pinpoint where that fish is, where it's going, and there are beautiful videos of bald eagles coming down out of the sky and stretching out their legs and their talons and grabbing fish right off the surface of the water. I've seen it myself in the wild. It's pretty impressive. Um, they tend to have very long, sharp talons. In fact, there's a brand of fishing hooks called Eagle Claw.
Oh,
Yeah, and in addition to that, the pads of their feet, underside their feet, on the underside of their toes and their feet, the skin is very rough, and it's got little sort of like sandpapery feel to it, so they can hold on to a slippery fish that way. Um, all these neat adaptations in the fish eagle, certainly the bald eagle, specifically here, to be able to become somewhat of a fish specialist. But they will capture mammals on the ground. Occasionally, they'll take birds. There's some footage and some literature talking about them taking birds like geese, large birds,
right, right.
and they'll eat carrion. They'll eat alongside vultures. They'll eat alongside golden eagles that are also feeding on carrion, where the two species are found together. So, they can be opportunists, if necessary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when I see my first bald eagle in United States, it was very exciting time for me. I
Yeah,
mean,
where did you see that?
um,
Remember?
Başakil,
Oh, Baskerville, yeah, upstate, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
upstate New York.
yeah, New York State.
Joe Di
Mm,
Costanzo took me over there, and then we did some bird watching, and then I
right.
saw my first bald eagle over there. It was really, I mean, well, interesting time for me. I mean, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the
So
first time.
you don't forget it. Where I grew up on Long Island in New York, there were no bald eagles when I was growing up. It was the 1960s and 70s when they were pretty
Oh,
much
because of
gone.
DDT,
Right, but now there are at least four nests on Long Island, active nests on Long Island.
right?
And 2 weekends ago, I was watching a pair of eagles at a nest up in upstate in the Catskills. So yeah,
Yeah, this is
they
a
made their way.
symbolic bird. I mean, for United States, we know that, and also this is very handsome, charismatic bird. Do you have any interesting story that you have in your mind? I mean, about bald eagle.
Yeah, well, there's an old story, and I don't know if it's been settled yet, whether it's a true story or not. For some reason, I just don't
Mm,
remember the details.
I'm
But
curious.
yeah,
Yeah,
at the beginning of the founding of the United States, after the Revolutionary War, the founding fathers were discussing things about how to go forward, and they wanted to pick a national bird, an emblem for the United States, and various species got bandied about as I for ideas, and it was agreed eventually that the bald eagle would be the symbol for the United States, but
right.
legend or fact has it that Benjamin Franklin was against it. He wanted the wild turkey to be the symbol of the United States, and his reasons were
Wow.
yeah. Well,
But
his reasons were that the bald eagle sometimes eats carrion like a vulture. Sometimes the bald eagle steals fish away from other birds like the osprey. So
right.
he considered it kind of a scoundrel. He didn't like the bird, but he thought that turkeys were honest birds and were more appropriate as the symbol for the United States. Maybe he was right. I don't know.
I don't know. Both species are fine,
Yeah.
but this species, I mean, it has different charisma. Well, I am
Yeah.
sure the turkey has a charisma, but this one
Yeah.
is,
Well, a different
yeah,
kind. Yeah.
different kind of charisma. Look at the bill. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
big hoop.
Big, heavy yellow bill. It's fierce eyes, beautiful yellow. When they're adults, they have these yellow eyes.
Right.
Um, it's a gorgeous bird.
So do you think this bird is gonna affect by climate change or global warming stuff? So it's gonna be because I think all the birds of prey not endangered but under threat or something. So
Well,
the global
maybe.
probably
Yeah.
everybody try to protect.
Maybe, but you know, we don't have a crystal
Great.
ball, and our
Birds are
model.
great. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a crystal ball, and we don't, you know, our models are just models.
Yes. Yes.
But you know, I mean, you know, we always kind of think about the negative, but maybe global warming will have a positive effect on some of these birds. I mean, one aspect of global warming is to gradually increase the sea levels, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, these are sea eagles, and you know, they like the sea. So, you know, I have no idea. I'm just speculating. Maybe for species like this, an increase in water and fish would be good. So,
Right.
you know, there are a lot of variables, a lot of things we don't know and are difficult to figure out.
And when I read something about the bald eagle, so as I said before, there is a significant difference between northern and southern subspecies.
Right.
So, but I didn't exactly, well, deep looking for any other paper published about their DNA variation
Right.
because so the somebody described the different subspecies and obviously they are different based on size.
Yeah.
So do you have any information? Is there any genetic evidence
Uh,
that supports its variation?
well, I know that over the years there have been a couple of good papers on raptor genetics covering a lot of species in a lot of families, but I don't think those addressed differences in subspecies.
Right.
Um, but and I'm not aware of anything specific in the northern populations and the southern populations of bald eagles being done recently. Um, but there are certain ecological rules that we're both aware of, right? Where the northern animals tend to be larger often, and then
Yes,
they
of course.
here
Yeah.
and they, yeah,
This is the
and then
Berkman rule.
Bergman's rule, right? And so this may be a uh, an example of that.
Okay. Okay. Well, so I finished my question. I think I'm done. And thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you.
It's another episode. So the bald eagle is definitely interesting bird species that we talk about this species today.
Yeah, I would
And
encourage people to, if they're interested in this particular bird, is to continue to look online and in libraries and go out and see the birds themselves if you can. There are some great videos of these eagles hunting and fishing and raising
right,
young. They build these huge nests. There's little fuzzy white young in it when they first hatch. There are eagle cams. You know, there are cameras that
right.
are on eagle nests, which you know, pretty interesting to look at.
Thank you so much. And
Thank
next
you.
episode, we are gonna talk about golden eagle, which is gonna be another interesting bird, interesting charismatic bird in, I mean, especially the old world.
Mhm.
So, well, also the new world. I mean, the United States also, but the old world, there are some tradition. You told me about I mean, human golden eagle interactions. So we are gonna talk next week. So I just want to give little information about
A little
next
hint,
episode.
a little
Hint.
taste.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So see you next week and next episode.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye, Yoku.